This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. With us today on The Havery Show, we have Mrs. Blanche Ancrum. I've known Mrs. Ancrum for many, many years, and I went to school with a couple of her kids. But I'm sad to say that I really just don't know you very well at all. But I hope to rectify that this morning, so thank you for being on the show.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
This is a real treat. It really, really is. This is one of those unexpected treats. My brother Peter and I came out to the Ponderosa a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And we got to chat. And I thought, you would be a great person to have on the podcast. So here you are.
Here I am.
I would like to go back and find out how your family made it to Sebring to begin with.
Well, my mother and her siblings grew up here in Sebring. My grandfather was from Georgia and his brother was from Georgia, but they migrated here to Florida, and they left Georgia for some unknown reason. But at any rate, they came here, made a life here. And first they lived in Avon Park under the water tower, which,
Okay.
Across that lake over
That's
there.
right.
And so that was way back in the day. So my mom and her siblings grew up here. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure how my dad and my aunt and those got here, because they never talked about it. But ever since I can remember, they were here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you were born here.
I was born in Dr. Weems Hospital.
You sure were. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Dr. Howard Weems.
Yes.
And he was my doctor for years and years, and I was a little sickly child.
I didn't. Okay. Well, tell me about that.
Well, my tonsils were bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever the weather changed, I would always get sick. So he always came to our house to doctor me, because a lot of times I couldn't go to his office.
Mm-hmm.
But, those were the days when you had to, I don't like really talking about it, but I guess I should. Those were the days when you had to sit outside on the back and wait till the other people in the front got waited on.
The other people.
The other people mean the Caucasian.
Yes.
Yes. And then we sat outside on a bench waiting for our turn to go in.
Where was Dr. Weems' office?
Right down there where the Magnolia Nursing Home is. I don't know the name of that street.
Yes, it was Magnolia.
Is it Magnolia?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the street.
Yes.
But yeah, his hospital was right there.
Okay.
Right there where that brick building is now, where Eldridge Furniture used to be. All of that used to be Dr. Weems' hospital.
Okay.
And he had an upstairs part for the Caucasian people, and then he had a building in the back also for the minority people. Did
he treat you well?
Oh yeah, as far as I know, he never hurt me or anything like that. My mom, he delivered me and my brother Sylvester, who sadly has just passed on. And Doobie was born in Highlands Regional Hospital. He was the first baby born at Highlands Regional.
Really?
Yes, because they did not have a maternity ward at the time, but that's where he was delivered at.
The first baby born at Highlands Regional.
Well, yeah.
It should have gave him some kind of an award. Some kind of lifelong award for that. That's a milestone thing.
Well, he's definitely changed. I mean, the hospital has definitely changed.
Oh, sure.
From the way it looked back then, but yeah. So all I know is that my grandmother was here, my grandmother on my father's side, and they all migrated here. Now, my father, they lived in Martin County, which is Ocala, but he grew up in a little place called Martin, and it was like a subdivision of Ocala.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where most of my family on my father's side lives in Marion County.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there we go.
There you go. You went to E.O. Douglas, or were you at Sebring High School? Where did?
I went to E.O. Douglas. First, I went to kindergarten in what they call the youth center, the USO Center. We had a big wooden building. It was called the youth center, and youth center, I guess it was. But I went to kindergarten there.
Where was that at?
On Lemon Street.
Okay, is it still there?
No, it's just an empty parking lot.
Is it on the left if you're going in? If you're going into Highlands and Lemon, is it that empty lot on the left?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. So that used to be the youth center, and that's where you went to kindergarten.
Right, and I lived right behind there.
Gotcha.
On Tangerine Street.
Yep.
And then from first grade through 10th grade, I was a student at E.O. Douglas High School. And then they told us in our 10th grade year that we had to either integrate in our 11th grade year or our 12th grade year. So they gave us a choice of going either way you were going to go.
Yep.
Whether you wanted to or not, which I did not want to go, but I went anyway.
Yeah.
So I did 2 years at Sebring High School.
How was it? How was that transition?
For me, it wasn't hard. I think from my other peers, some of them had a hard time, but it was they didn't really ask us if we wanted to go. They just told us we had to go.
Yes.
So it was hard. Back then, Billy Cason was the principal. Wally Cox was the assistant principal. Yes. And Glenn Oldham was Mr. Sebring High himself, I guess he thought at the time. But he and I didn't get along at first when I first started going to school there because I was a little defiant, I guess.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, I think I was because I would go upstate during the summertime, and I'd come back in like October, November. So I always started school in the north.
Yes.
And that school was a white school. But I would be the only, besides me and my brother or my cousins, we would be the only blacks in that school. So I've always been integrated.
Yes.
More or less. Okay. But yes, I can remember the first day I came back to school, and this girl, her name was Janet Burgess. And she was friendly and outgoing, and so was I. And we just kind of hit it off together. So whenever we see each other, we touch each other, So one day he saw us doing that, and he thought that we were fighting.
Oh.
No, we were not fighting. We were just friendly, touching. That's how we greeted each other.
Sure.
Okay. But in his class, he wanted you to say, yes, sir. I'm used to saying present or here. And he said, in my class, it's a yes, sir, or a no, sir. And me, I said, well, present is a yes. Here is a yes. And I can say yes or no. I don't have to say sir. So he sent...
That didn't go well.
No, he sent me to the office. First day of school, I went to the office. And Billy Cason wanted to know, well, why didn't you say yes, sir? I said, because my mom said I can say yes, I can say no. That's not disrespecting. So that's not all I told him at that day, because I told him that obviously you're teaching history, but you're not living by the history. Slavery's been over 100 years or so ago, how many ever years it was at the time. I said, so I don't have to say yes sir or no sir to you. So that's when he really sent me to the office.
Okay.
So he sent me to the office several times, but it's okay.
Did you ever did you ever win him over? Did you ever?
Well, you know what? Years later, I started to work at the county school board office, and he was up there, as a coordinator of over a curriculum of social studies and all that stuff like that. And yes, we became civil good friends, I would say.
I would think, from what I remember of Coach Odom, that even though in his mind you disrespected him, I think that he would have found respect for you and that you stood up to him.
Well, to be honest with you, that is so true. Because before he retired from the school board, he called me over to his office one day, and I went over to see what he wanted. And I said, "No, I'm not going to get no hamburgers and all that stuff for you." That's what he always said. "You remember I used to send you up to Miss Jones to get me a hamburger?" I said, "Are you sure it was me?" I said, "I don't think it was me." He said, "You know it was you." I said, "No, it wasn't none of me. We would fuss a fight about that one." But anyway, he called me over. He said, "You know, the one thing that I want you to know is that I always respected you."
Yeah.
Because you always stood up for what you believed and what you thought was what you knew was right.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you to know that I always have admired you because of that.
How about that?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that was Sebring High School. When did you graduate? What year?
1968.
1968.
I think it was June the 6th, 1968. It was the same day that Robert Kennedy got killed.
Oh,
Somebody
wow.
killed him on that day. I can
Yes.
remember being sad because I didn't want to graduate on the day that somebody had killed him.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that would be a very sad thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but life goes on.
It does. It has a way.
It does.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Since we're talking about integration, segregation, I've always just assumed that it's a good thing, that integration was a good thing and a natural thing and was what should have happened. And then, not too long ago, I saw Muhammad Ali on a talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And he raised some points that I couldn't disagree with very much about integration. He said, bluebirds hang out with bluebirds, cardinals hang out with cardinals, each to his own kind of thing. And I thought, wow, this is kind of messing with my head right now. Do you think that integration, that forced integration, was a good thing?
I think in some ways it could have been. Then there are other ways I don't think that it was either. Especially, I guess, and I'm being a little biased, I guess, is the word, because I have grown up in that environment all my life. I knew the teachers. They cared about you. They made sure you did your schoolwork. They made sure that you spoke properly. If you didn't, the teacher would go to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So your parents got told that same day.
Yes.
It wasn't like they sent a letter home or anything. But no, I was heartbroken because that was like a home. That was like my family. And our teachers cared about us as their children.
Yes.
And they dressed like teachers.
Yes.
I have grandchildren now that's in Sebring High School. And they think that it's just, it's okay for this or it's okay for that. And I have to remind them, a lot of people went through a lot in order for you to go to school here. And, I stress to them that they need to make sure they get a good education. But what I find today is if you don't show interest in that child by going to that school to check on them or whatever, and that was even with my children, you had to be an interactive parent, to go to be there, because otherwise things just went still. So I'm not sure we were really totally integrated.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Some people cared, some people didn't.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like that also when we went to school. But we all knew that you had a goal in mind, and that was to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure, Harry. I just some good points, some bad points. I try not to be negative, but
Well, yeah, and you can change buildings and you can change locations, you can change rules and regulations, but you can't change people's hearts.
no.
And that's really where the rubber meets the road, isn't it? Is how we treat each other.
And that's basically what it is today. Still,
Still,
it's
still,
still that way today.
it breaks my heart, and I'm at a loss. Morgan Freeman was in an interview, and someone asked him, I'm paraphrasing, how do we stop? How do we stop with racism? And he said, we stop talking about it. You stop referring to me as a black man, and I'll stop referring to you as a white man. And I see the merit in that. But also, we should never forget. Do you know what I mean? We need to get past it. We need to love each other and care for each other and be kind to each other. But if you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Well, I just don't believe that you can forget it. I think people remember.
Well, sure.
They still remember. And then those are the people that want things to remain like they were. Wherein if I walked on one side of the sidewalk and you was on that same side, I had to get off to let you. There are people in the world that still feel that way today. It's sad, but my philosophy is that I have to get to know you for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that you get to know me for me.
That's right.
Because really and truly, we don't know each other.
Right.
We just know that I know that you exist and you know that I exist. But we don't spend time together.
Right.
We don't go to supper or to an affair or anything unless it's something special. Then we'll see each other. Mm-hmm. But in order for all of that to change, we have to intermingle with each other. And I think that's the way God wanted it to be.
Absolutely.
However, it's not like that, but I think we just deal with it and move on. But, with all the things the way it is now, it's like a lot of stuff is getting torn up and thrown in the garbage can. So therefore, now you don't know what it's going to be like again.
Right.
It's a never-ending battle.
Oh, I don't want it to be never-ending.
Well,
I don't want. First of all, I just want there to be an end to the battle. I don't want a battle anymore. I just want us to love each other and care for each other and be kind to each other. And that's all I've ever wanted. And I don't know how. I don't know what do I do for it? I'm just a person.
Well, like I said, I think we just have to get to know one another. Who we are, who you are. I can't blame you for all the things that happened before you were born. Mm-hmm. But yet I cannot forget the things that happened to me before you were born. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I know a lot of people say, well, why can't you just forget it? Because no, you can't forget it.
No.
Because there are people that still treat me like it was yesterday.
Even still here in Sebring, you still have a sense of that and you still feel that?
Yeah, not as much as I used to. Uh-huh. But I can remember my mom and I was gone to the grocery store, and I was at the red light, and some people pulled up behind me, some young dudes, they pulled up behind me. And so they started calling, they recognized that my mom and I were black, and they started calling us the N-word. Mm-hmm. And my mom said, Blanche, don't say anything. Just go head on. Don't worry about them. And they followed us for a while, and they didn't know who I was. Mm-hmm. They didn't know who my mom was. Right. They just knew that we were two black people sitting in a car. And things like that still happen. You go places, I can feel it. Mm-hmm. You may not recognize it, but I can recognize when people don't care for me, not because of they don't know me like I did something to them. It's just because of the color of my skin.
Yeah, and I can't compare. I can't compare myself to you, but when I'm walking down the street and there's a young black person coming towards me, and I just want to, make eye contact and say hi, say good morning. And so often, they've got the earbuds in and the head down, and it's not only it's young people in general don't know how to be social anymore, and I don't know what that's all about. That's a whole different ball of yarn, but I don't want young black people, old black people to think that I feel any animosity towards them, because I don't. And again, I don't know what to do about it, and it's so frustrating.
Well, you can go to the doctor's office. I go to the doctors quite a bit sometimes, but I walk in, and the majority of the people up there in there, they're older Caucasian people.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in, and sometimes I'll be led to say good morning. I'll say, good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one, maybe two out of the whole people that's in that office will say good morning. The rest, they ignore you as if you never said anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I guess I am still a little defiant, because I will say, well, it doesn't cost anything to say good morning.
I love that.
And I'm like, my mom always said, Blanche, your mouth is going to be your death. But I can't help it, because I feel like we're people. You deserve, and I guess it's my home training from years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You always spoke.
Yes.
When we came home from school and someone was sitting on their front porch, you said good evening or hello
Mm-hmm.
to Miss whoever or Mr. whoever.
Yep.
Because if you didn't, they were going to tell your parent.
That's right.
And you're gonna get in trouble. You're not going outside for a whole month, a week, or whatever they punishment they gave you,
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't get a spanking. But the thing of it is that people don't. They don't. I don't know. They don't do that anymore.
They don't. It's a lost art.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, and I don't know if it's because of the telephones or the cell phones. I don't know what it is, but people, COVID certainly hurt, but people aren't social to each other anymore. They're just not.
Well, they were like, we were non-sociable before COVID, but that just made it worse.
Yeah, for sure.
Made it you in your own little world.
Yeah.
But God is still good, in spite of, and I just try to take one day at a time and keep it moving, because I don't say anything to you unless you say something to me ugly,
Mm-hmm.
something
Yes.
like that,
Yes.
Then you have to deal with that
That's
situation.
right.
Because even when I worked at the school board, being a black secretary in the county office, I had my share of racism, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't know me. I was the first black person that worked at the Highlands County Health Department.
Is that right?
Yes. And
Is that when it was right down here in South Commerce?
yeah, right here by the courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. And I used to go to work every morning, and I'd say good morning. Everybody would say good morning, but this one person. So at first I thought, well, maybe it's just me. So I can remember standing at the front counter. We would all meet up there in the morning time. We first got to work and say good morning, see how everybody's doing. Anna B. Church, you know her?
No.
You don't know Paul Church?
Oh yes, of course. Paul. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
mom.
Yes. Okay.
His mother. She was the county whatever. I think she worked in like social needs or
Mm-hmm.
something. And they had everything in that one building. Okay. And this lady would come in, and she came in one morning and she said, good morning, so-and-so. Good morning. I'm not going to call names, but she said, good morning, so-and-so. Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, Ed, or whoever she said, whoever was up there, to everybody but me. So me and myself, I thought, well, okay. So I decided that I would beat her to work one morning. No, I take it back. I came to work later than she did this particular day. And they were all up there laughing and talking, and she was up there too. And I went in, I say, Oh, hi, Ed. Hi, Sarah. I named everybody in there except for her. And I guess she thought, well, what's wrong with her? But that's what she would do.
Mm-hmm.
And before I left there, we became friends.
Is that right?
Yes. Because, I think that if you treat me that way and I treat it to you back, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Most people don't like that.
That's right.
And because it doesn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't trying to be mean, but I wanted her to know, look, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the taste of her own medicine.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, right, yes.
So anyway, I've had my experiences and everything, but I'm just grateful and thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. I was at a city council meeting Tuesday. My son Harrison is on the city council, and my wife and I go to his meetings, and there was a little bit of a dust-up over Lakeside Cemetery.
I saw that on Facebook.
Harrison and I drove out there last week. I didn't know that there was a separate cemetery out there all these years. I knew about Pinecrest. I didn't know there was a separate cemetery. Made me sad, but it was beautiful. Now I can see where some of the folks that were out there wanting to make some improvements, where that could happen. But beautiful canopy of oak trees and kind of a winding little path there. That is a beautiful place of rest.
Yeah, I have relatives out there. My grandmother is there. Well, both of my grandmothers are there. Both of my grandparents are there.
Mm-hmm.
My father's mom and dad are there. And my mother's mother and father. Plus, I have uncles and cousins. And my father is there. My mom is buried in Pinecrest, which I wanted her to be buried next to him, but they said they had no more space there. So, most of the graves out there it's probably more than it appears, because some of them have headstones and some of them don't.
Gotcha.
So, it's a lot of people out there. I ride out there periodically and go ride through, and I take my daughter, who's interested in things from way back when. She says, well, Mama, did you know this person? Did you know that? Yeah, I knew that person. I knew who she was. I know who he was, but, back in the day, my parents, they didn't let us go from street to street or place to place. You had to know somebody on that street to go.
Gotcha.
A relative. And you had your own little area that you grew up in. And then when we went to school, we all integrated together. We were all migrated together, but then we still didn't really know, because when school was out, you go home to your house and I go home to my house, and we might play, but if it's not far away, but most of the time you didn't go venturing out all over the city.
So tell me some stories about growing up in that community, in the Washington Heights community, and some of the notable people, some of the notable places, because I grew up right here in this house next door.
Oh, really?
That's my childhood home, and it's a stone's throw from your community. I don't know hardly anything about your community, and I'd like to know some of the names and some of the people and places that are special to you.
Well, don't feel like the Lone Ranger, because I never knew about street names or any of this stuff over here either. But back when I was growing up, we had the Watson family, which was right across the railroad track here. You just cross the railroad track. There's where the mission is now. Okay.
Yep.
There used to be a big 2-story building there, and that was the Watsons' rooming house, basically. So it was 2 stories, had a beautiful front porch with swing on it. Then across the street was where they lived, But they also had on that same street was Mr. Straw's Dry Cleaners and Miss Watson's Cafe. Okay.
Why does the name Flossie pop into my head? Was there a Flossie Watson?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I'm not sure what I can't remember what Miss Watson's first name is. I don't think it was Flossie though. Then you come back across the railroad track on this side where, there was, we used to have Uncle Ben's store. Mr. Spooner had had a store over here. Mr. Taylor had a store. And
was Mr. Spooner a white guy?
He was.
And he had, I think, the brick house over by the baseball field.
Yes.
Yes.
And I didn't know where he lived until I've been an adult person.
Shirley Spooner, maybe was that a daughter or possibly his wife?
I don't know. All I knew was
couldn't have been a wife. She was married to Dick Walk. But anyway, I digress.
Well, in that building, right there was his store, and on top it was a 2-story building, and on top of that building was, I guess, some apartment where somebody, and Miss Flagg used to live there long years ago. So he owned all of that.
Gotcha.
Okay. In fact, he owned the building where I lived also. I think he must have bought it from Dr. Weens, because where I lived, my house was a part of Dr. Weens' hospital at one time, but they converted it over into 2 houses.
Okay.
I guess Mr. Spooner. So, because every week I would go and pay Mr. Spooner. My dad would send me to go pay the rent and bring him the change.
Yeah.
So, we had our First Baptist Church, which is still there. The Harrises that lived, Miss Diana Harris and Mr. Lon Harris lived up there. And then we had the Greater Mount Zion AME Church that was there, but it burnt down years ago.
Yes. Now, where was the First Baptist Church is
It's still there.
Well, now, where's that at?
Right there when you cross the railroad track.
Yeah. On the left?
Right, it's on the left-hand side, and they've painted it now.
Has that always been the Baptist church?
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
All right.
So you come on up the street, and then there was what we call Daddy Owens' barber shop. Then there was Mr. Cootie Joe's dry cleaners. And then there was another part of the building next to him, Miss Jones Cafe. You come on up, and then right now they have, it says Shine's Pool Hall. Well, that building used to be a large wooden building, and Mr. Bethay, he ran the pool hall. That was his business, and he used to sell peanuts in there. Now, no kids could go there. You can go to the door, but he would not allow you to come in there to get anything. You bought peanuts. Then right next to them was, let's see, I think Miss Classy.
Now, I want to get my bearings. Am I on Highlands and Lemon at this point?
No, you're still on Lemon.
I'm still on Lemon.
On the left-hand side.
Okay.
That's going east.
Okay.
Okay. And then there was Miss Classy and Mr. Dale. And they had a 2-story house, but in the bottom they sold food out of the little small restaurant. Just go to the window and buy what you want. Then right now you go around the corner there. It used to be Mr. Willie Roberts' gas station.
Oh, okay.
They do have stuff right in front of there all the time now. It's made like kind of like a circle like this. Go in. You used to go in, and then you go through, and then you could come out the other side, and the gas pumps were there, and then on the corner was a mailbox, and across the street from there was Miss Fanny's restaurant, the Elks Club.
The Elks Club.
Yes.
All right.
And they had an Elks Club there, but it wasn't always there. It was, I don't know how to explain it. We'd have to take a tour so I could show you.
Okay.
But then we had Miss. Oh Lord, I can't think of her name. But it was a restaurant here. Then we had Miss Miss Cardwell that lived there, and then right next to that store, like right where this line is on your table, was Taylor's grocery store, and his name was Elgin Taylor, if I'm not mistaken, because I got to meet him again when I worked down at the NCT group, which is no longer here on Commerce, but I worked with them during the tax season, and I remember him coming in, and I asked him, I said, "Sir, are you the Mr. Taylor that had the grocery store?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, okay, I remember you. How's Mr. Gas?" He said, and then they had the butcher's name was Mr. Gas.
Mr. Gas.
That's all I ever know was Mr. Gas. And he said Mr. Gas had died, but he was still alive. And anyway, then we had Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry had what we used to call a juke joint, but it was a place where people would go and party and have a good time. Upstairs was a 2-story building at the time, and upstairs was the original Elk Rest. They used to go upstairs to have their meetings and do whatever. Then there was Mr. Ty Cobb, who was the shoe man, and No Regrets. So, we had beauty shops because my aunt was a beautician. My godmother, where Mount Zion was, I forgot about that. Right next to where Mount Zion was another 2-story building that had rooms and everything. And then in the bottom was my godmother's, Janie Green's, beauty shop. So we had a beauty shop there. My aunt had a beauty shop. We had a liquor store that was up here, and I can't remember the name of the people that owned it, but there were black people that ran it, that kind of stuff like that. So we've had quite a few businesses back in the day when I was growing up. Yes, it was most profitable for the black community, and everybody went to Uncle Ben's store. Uncle Ben's is where right now is where this place is called the Blue Haven up there now. The spot. Okay. It was in that area right there. Was Uncle Ben's grocery store.
I really like the idea of you taking me on a tour and taking a camera and having you and letting me follow you around and take me to the spots.
Well, I'd have to have Gary Welch come with me.
That'd be fine.
Because Gary Welch knows where everybody lived. He still remembers the names, and oh my gosh! But that
would be fun. I would love to do that. We'll have to have a part 2 of this where we take it on the road.
Okay, well, we'll have to do that then.
That'd be a lot of fun. This episode of the Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting. 863-385-5020. Tell me about the Ponderosa.
Well, of course, my uncle was a labor contractor, is what they called them at the time.
Is that Roscoe?
Roscoe Campbell and Dorothy Campbell, his wife. Every summer, like we got out, the kids got out on Friday. Well, today would be Monday. We would be leaving, going to South Carolina to pick peaches. So they harvested peaches from the hotter part of the summer until maybe August, and then we would move to another group. But we went to Johnston, South Carolina, for years. So, and I was in that area was Edgefield and Johnston and Trenton and Aiken, South Carolina. I don't know if you've heard of Aiken. But so I spent a lot of my summers with them going up harvesting. So, for a long time, I didn't realize that my uncle was acquiring that land because they lived in a house and we lived in a house. And we've all lived together, basically, from one time to another. But just one year, some year, I don't even remember the year, that he finally paid for this land. He bought it from Gracie, what was it?
McCoy.
From Gracie McCoy.
Yeah. I'll be darned.
Yeah, she was the realtor.
Did he buy it in pieces? He's acquired in pieces or all?
No, I think he paid for everything at the same time. he had another land site also out Moon Ranch Road,
Yes.
down at the very end where Gary Rapp and all those live at. Well, he had owned that a portion of that out there also, but he ended up giving that up. So then we kept just the Ponderosa, 25 acres up there.
Was that always kind of a ranch cattle place, or buffalo, or was it something else first?
No, he brought the buffalo back from New York. When he first brought them back, I think we had 10.
10 people wouldn't have a clue that there were a buffalo ranch.
No, we had buffalo, we had cows, we had donkeys, we had horses, pigs, guineas, peacocks, chickens, geese, we had guineas, which was those little chicken-like birds.
Sure.
Yeah, we had all of that. All of that was up there.
Just running around.
Yes.
Were they separated? Did they?
No,
they free ranged?
Well, the cows were where they were. My house wasn't there at the time.
Okay.
So, I think we started building that house in like 1980, 81, something like that.
So you got all that livestock out there. You got all these critters running around out there, but yet there was semi-pro baseball going on.
Oh yeah. My uncle was a social person. He loved helping people. He loved entertaining people. When I was growing up, he used to do fireworks, and we used to go to Fort Myers, like for Memorial Day or 4th of July, and he would set up a big fireworks thing. And do the fireworks down in Fort Myers and stuff. So then he started doing it here. So on the holidays, we always had something going on, and he decided that he wanted a baseball team. So he built a baseball field out there, and of course we had the whatever you call it, the press box. They call it the press box now, but it's just where they would go up there and see whatever was going on. But it was a lot of fun. People would come from all over to the baseball games, and that was on every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And every Sunday activity.
So where did did they have a separate place to put the animals? Because I know that they ranged on the baseball field, right?
Yeah.
I guess they just got shoved off and.
Well, some of them we didn't have quite as many.
Okay.
At that time, but he kept them separated in terms of, like where my house is probably where all the animals were at the time.
Gotcha.
And then the baseball field was over to the left.
Okay.
And so, of course, we didn't have no road, pretty much, because some people get stuck, get pulled, and all this stuff. But people came to the Ponderosa for the baseball, and they would have a good time. There was no fighting, no fussing, none of that kind of stuff. And then when it got dark, everybody left and went down on what we call the corner, Lemon Street.
Yeah.
And but that was my uncle.
Wow.
New Year's, we were definitely going to have a big New Year's activity. And that was where he would do the fireworks show. He'd cook and barbecue, and he'd give everybody, he never charged anybody for anything. He just gave them, he always gave the food away, never sold it.
No kidding.
Never.
That's remarkable.
Never sold it, always. And my aunt always cooked a lot of food, and people would just stop by to eat whenever they got ready. If they came by, if they wanted something to eat, they ate. So, and then as I grew up and was allowed to go to Avon Park, to the beachfront, I don't know if you ever heard about the beachfront.
Drove by it the other day.
Oh, okay. Well, the beachfront was the place to be.
Yeah.
And we go and party at the beachfront, and then everybody would come back to Sebring and come to the Ponderosa, to our house, and then we party some more, and until 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And it was never anything. My aunt and uncle never said a word. They didn't care who came.
Yeah.
It didn't bother them at all. And that's because people, I think, respected them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a place for us to have a good time.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I would wake up the next morning and there would be people that didn't live there. Sleep on the floor or sleep on the couch or somewhere like that. And my aunt would get up and make a big breakfast and we'd all eat and then they'd go home.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So they were just Mr. and Mrs. Hospitality.
I love that. That's, my brother and I have been out a couple times to do some filming out there and to do some going down memory lane. And that for Peter, that's one of Peter's fondest memories is playing for Ponderosa Raiders, or he would say Roscoe's Raiders.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was the only white dude out there playing, but he was one of the only white guys out there playing. And he just loved it out there.
I was thinking about that this morning, and I was trying to think in my mind, remembering him. But you used to be so many people down there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I never paid attention to who played the baseball, and they didn't just play in Sebring because they would go on trips.
That's right.
They go to Palaca or Orlando or Eustis and these different places to go play baseball, and those people would come here, and then their families and all of them would follow them down here. So it used to just be something fun. And my uncle never, like I said, he never charged. It was just something that he liked doing for the community. He was a community-minded person.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
What are some of the other names of people that have been influential to you over the years?
Theodore Matthews, who was my aunt's husband, he had a barbershop up there. Sabrina Matthews, she had a beauty shop up there next to the gas station.
It's related to Greg
Matthews.
Did I go to school with Greg Matthews?
No, that's.
Oh, I'm thinking of several Matthews now.
Yeah, it's a different Matthews.
It's a different Matthews.
Different Matthews, yeah.
My memory is not what it used to be. It's not as sharp as yours.
Well, mine is not either. That's why I can't remember names. Mr. Saffold,
Robert.
I grew up with him and his wife and his family. We all grew up in the same. I grew up in the neighborhood. He was my teacher. Miss Saffold taught in other places. She didn't teach at Sebring at E.O. Douglas. But yeah, Mr. Saffold being a community-minded person, also always an activist for different things and like that. Then we had
he was with the Sportsman.
Yes, associate. Yeah. See, I told you I didn't remember the name. You know more than me. I forgot all about that. Was the name of it, the Sportsman's Association, and they played golf and all that stuff like that.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.
Now, my dad used to work at the Kenilworth, and Mr. Jack Watson also worked there. He was the janitor at the plant manager at Fred Wild for a long time.
Yes.
But before the Kmart and all that stuff was built, that was a beautiful garden. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Kenilworth Gardens, and it was, and then the golf course was back in there.
It was across the street.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
It was real beautiful back then. I can still see all the trees and the things and the people, and I can remember never going into Kenilworth until I've been an adult person. I went in there for something. Oh, I know. We had a family reunion. And I went there to find out, which I thought would have been neat, that, that I wasn't allowed in there. But my family was allowed in there. But it wasn't the same anymore as it used to be. But at any rate, they stayed there for the 2 or 3 days. And that was the first time that I had ever gone in the Kenilworth Lodge.
Wow.
Isn't that something? It
is something. Because these are all places that we all take for granted over here. Circle Theater was another one, when I was managing the Circle Theater. I tried to I don't know. I try to integrate, the crowds and try to do more for the black community. And there's still some, there's still some scars from the Circle Theater and, the balcony, and you had to have a back entrance and you weren't. Oh, there's just so many stories that are heartbreaking.
Fisher's Restaurant.
Remember right next door. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Used to love to go to Fisher's, but we only went in the back. But we got a good ham and cheese sandwich back there. Yeah. Mr. Wash and Mr. David was the ones that were the cook back there a long time ago. Oh, let me see who else. Mr. Sam Nixon, who was our principal, was my principal for 1st grade through 10th grade. Now, my mother went to E.O. Douglas, and my dad, they all went to E.O. Douglas and graduated from there. But it wasn't where it is now. It was down on Harris Street, where it's a big open lot across from Bountiful Blessings.
Yes.
Yeah, and the funeral home.
Yes.
The funeral home has been there for years, but
Kearney?
It was Kearney's back then.
Yeah.
But my mom, there was a big building there, and they had turned it, by the time I was up, they had turned it into apartments. But that's where my mom and those went to school at.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moved the school up to where it is now, and that's where we went to school. But Sam Nixon was our principal. Mr. Marion was my mother's principal. So there's just a lot of people, teachers that we loved. Miss Hart, Miss Waldron, who was the assistant principal, Mr. Sappho, Miss Blanche Strange, and Miss May Council, who was, she was in Avon Park, but she basically was in between Avon Park and Sebring. She was my 4th grade teacher. Miss Harris, Miss Jones, Margaret Jones. I can think of all the names of people. Miss Fuller, Miss Butler, Miss Aretha Blanding.
Oh, yes.
Before she was a Blanding, then Mr. Blanding. It's weird, though. I think about a lot of times about the school or the place and the people, because the gym wasn't there for a long time. Then they finally built us a gym because we had to play sports, anything outside. Tennis or whatever it was, basketball was outside for years and years and years, and then they built the gym for us to play in and stuff. So those are the people that I can think of. Miss Lilybell White and the deans and the looters, all those people, the Masseline. So all these people, have passed on. The Hedgemans and the Mr. Richard Dean, Miss Bivens. It's just, those are the names that I can think of. And those people were always important to me, and you looked up to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't think of, because they were all special.
I read a really good book. I want to say Robert Walker wrote it about growing up in Sebring. Did I get that name right?
Yes.
Wow.
And his sister still lives here.
Yeah. What a good book.
Elaine Austin. Yes.
My goodness.
Yes. Yep. And
poignant.
And the Walkers. Yep. Now my uncle, Slayton Matthews, was a city cop when I was growing up. I think it was during the same time that in Avon Park, Mr. Carner, I think they used to call him Pistol. Those were the black cops that we knew in Howlands, that I knew in Howlands County anyway. So we did have some first, and then my dad was a policeman, but he was only there for like maybe a month because in the next month or so he got killed in a car wreck.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, my father was one of the ones. I don't know. You probably don't remember this story, and I didn't think to bring any of that stuff with me, but he and 4 other people were in a car coming from the last championship game before the Super Bowl, because the next year was the Super Bowl. And they went to see the Cleveland Browns and the Green Bay Packers
play.
And that was the last championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And they were on their way back, and the driver of the car went to sleep, and so all of them got killed except for one person. Yeah.
Oh, that's tragic.
It was, and it was.
When was that? So 68, 69?
1965. January 4th, 1965.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So, my dad was a cop, and then there was Mr. Wallace, who was my social studies teacher. My dad's first cousin, Rudy Walker, and then Mr. Ed White, and then Lee Smith Sr. Now, his son works at the county office in the print shopping department.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is Kari's not working there still, is he?
No, Kari finally retired.
He must have been there 150 years. How long was he there, do you know?
Well, I was there 29, 30 years.
Yeah.
So I think he probably was there maybe 25 or something, maybe 20.
Yeah, he had a good run there.
Yeah.
At the print shop, and his peanuts. He's
expanded
that. He's got little stands all over the place now. He's got different people running him.
Yeah, he's doing that.
That's
and those
cool.
are basically his brothers,
or
cousins.
Yeah.
That do that now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I haven't seen Kari in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him, but the last time I saw him, he's doing good. Still doing good.
What a good guy. My goodness.
Yeah.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. I don't know why, but I still have Matthews on my mind. I got Greg Matthews and I got Elaine Matthews, I believe.
Well, Elaine was my cousin.
Okay.
Yeah. And, well, actually, her father and my uncle Slayton were brothers. And Slayton married my mother's sister, so that's how we became entangled into the families.
I just had, just a couple weeks ago, I had Georgia Dawkins on.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't run hers yet. I think hers will be out Saturday.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who told me about the cemetery out there. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea that it was there. And it was so funny because she mentioned the cemetery, and she told me her whole story about her grandma and that whole thing. It just blew me away. And I don't know what to. I was speechless by that whole thing. And then it was only a couple of days later that they were bringing it up at the city council. So it was interesting to me that I had no idea it was there. And then like twice a week.
That was, and to me, that situation being brought up at the city council was just, that's sad to me. Because
it seems like it could have been done differently.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how it got started or whatever, but I thought it was very nice of them to, go out there. I mean, I haven't been out there. I'm going to go out there, and I do know some of the people that were involved. So y'all didn't paint my dad's stuff. I want you to go back out there and paint it for me. Mm-hmm. Because I thought about doing the same thing with my aunt and uncle. All of them are buried right there in the same little area. And their headstones are beginning to deteriorate. Yes. And I kept saying I was going to go out there and paint it so that you can still see the numbers and everything. My grandmother has a headstone. My grandfather has a headstone. My dad does not have a headstone. He's buried in a vault.
Oh, okay.
And it's under some trees. It's red, so I always know where it is. Mm-hmm. But my grandmother and grandfather that's buried right next to him, they don't have headstones or anything.
So it's completely unmarked?
Completely. Oh. But I know it's there because
sure,
I'm family, but it's not marked at all. So
it's a tricky situation because that group of folks that want to go out there and beautify it, their hearts are in the right place to do something really good. And then the city gets involved in that you're not, apparently, I didn't know all this, but apparently when you buy a plot, that is private property. And the city is not allowed to do anything with it. If someone puts a plant and the plant gets overgrown, it's up to whoever owns the plot to take care of the plot. And the city can only do so much, but you got a group of people that are willing to help. Let them do their thing. Take the guidelines off or something.
Well, I can remember Mr. George Walker Sr. used to go out there and mow the lawn and everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure he worked for the city
Mhm.
at the time because I don't know if they still take care of it or not. I
Mhm.
mean, it's always manicured.
Mhm. The city, you mean?
No, yeah, the city.
Yeah, the city still does, and Public Works does it. And Harrison explained to me that they have a crew that comes out like the same day or within the same day that they do Pinecrest. They also do Lakeside. So I think that there's stuff falling through the cracks that isn't getting done, and no one really knows how to handle it.
Well, I think as far as Pinecrest is concerned, now my brother used to go and edge that what do you call the
A weed
edge
whacking,
trimmer?
yeah.
Yeah, weed whacker thing, and cut the grass down from around my mother's grave,
Mm-hmm.
and my aunt and uncle. They all buried on the same row, basically. Yeah, they all on the same row. They're on this end, and my mother's like in the middle. And excuse me, my ex daughter-in-law has a son that's buried there. He drowned, and so he's like one down from my aunt and uncle. So when I go there to do something for them, I always do something for him too. But yeah, I've gone out there and you can hardly walk to the grave site. And I've inquired,
Because of overgrowth?
because of overgrowth.
Has that been recent?
I haven't been out there recently. I think the last time I went out there was a city worker lady out there, and I asked them about it. Um, and I think at one time they were having a hard time finding somebody to do it. I'm not sure.
I think that they've subcontracted that out because I don't know that Public Works had
Equipment.
the equipment to do it. So they, as far as I know, and this is as of the last city council meeting, as far as I know, Public Works subcontracts that contract out, and they have an outside company that comes in and takes care of both cemeteries.
Well, I can remember. Well, when my mom died, we put her out there, um, and we were told that we couldn't put different things on there. So the thing that we bought for my mom, it has a cup that you can put flowers and stuff in it. But other than that, now there are times that we have gone out there and you couldn't read the thing because the grass was growing up over it. But now there are people, they just put up what they want. So I'm not sure if that's still legal or if they, say that they can do it, but it's totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
I know
It
me.
seems
me
like
either.
there should be some just basic guidelines about what you can and can't do. But when you have a group of people in the community that want to go out and make a difference and improve things, let them go for it.
Well, I was told there was just one person that complained. I don't know if that's true or not.
She was at the meeting and she's said her piece. And she had a this is one of those things you can't predict. You could never predict this, but she's apparently got a grandson, according to what she said, and that particular, I don't know what you call it,
Probably a vault.
a vault. Thank you. Was overgrown with moss and algae and different. It was overgrown with stuff, and apparently her grandson studies that, and he's in college or something, and he was going to use that as part of a study program of studying the biology of it, and it got cleaned up and painted. So she was disappointed in that. But Ada was there, and everybody had their piece to say and said it well, but I don't know that anything was really resolved.
Well, that's too bad that happened, But like you said, the people that are willing to do things sometimes, and they don't mean any harm. They just think that it would be good to do, especially when you have family members in the same area.
And it would be very discouraging, for you, because I can't think of the man's name, but it was a brother and sister, I think. Is that right? Brother and sister, and they've been doing it for a long time, but it's just recently they've been asked to stop, or I'm not positive because that wasn't clear to me how all that happened. But yeah, I think anytime somebody wants to improve the community, then go for it.
I think so too.
But that's just me. What do I know?
What do I know either?
I'm going to ask you this, and then we'll call it a day, and that'll be the end of part 1, and we'll take part 2 on the road. So I've asked this before, but I'm just curious. You get to have one meal with one person throughout entire history. Anybody that you want, just to eat a meal and talk. Who's the one person that you would like to spend an hour with eating a meal? It could be politics, it could be entertainment, it could be a singer, it could be a loved one, it could be anybody. You get 1 hour, one meal. Who do you want to be with?
Can it be two people?
Sure.
Probably my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
My dad, mostly because he's been gone for so long.
How old were you when he went?
I had just turned 14.
That's a hard age to lose a daddy.
And my brother that just passed on was 9. And my younger brother, Ross Lewis, everybody calls him Doobie, he had just turned 1 in November. So he was only a year and a month old. Mm-hmm. So I probably would say my mom and my dad, especially my dad, because I felt like I didn't get to know him. Mm-hmm. I knew he was my dad. Yes. And you love him like a dad and all that, you have some good memories about it, but I don't really know the person. Sure. Because he died before I could really get to know him. Mm-hmm. I would probably say my dad. Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I want to talk about your kids for a second. It was Luke and Dina. Luke Ancrum and Dina Ancrum de Souza. Brandy Ancrum and Justin Ancrum. So did I go in the right order for age? Luke. Okay. Dina. Yeah. Brandy and Justin. Brandy and Justin. I'm not sure if I know them or not. Luke was in my grade. Yeah. You're very close. And Dina, it was maybe 2 years younger than me or something like that. Yeah, you guys would have gone to school together. Yeah. Yeah. And they were both of those were athletes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They were. Big time. Both of them. Big time. Yeah. Yes, they were good athletes. And in fact, when Dina was coming along, she played basketball and Holly Herner and I can't think of all the names now, but those kids that they all grew up together. And Dina got to go to Russia with the Florida USA team. Yes. To play the Russian, supposedly, youth teenagers, but they were like all old women. When they went over there. When they came back, those kids were so little and so skinny. It was so funny because they left looking healthy and came back looking like malnutrition because they didn't eat any of the food. They couldn't eat the food or drink the water, but they did have a good time, though. It was funny. But yes, Luke and Dina are my oldest two. And then Brandy came along. Was there a gap between Dina and Brandy? Oh, yes. Brandy and Dina are like maybe 6 years old. Oh, okay. All right. Like that. Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, I spaced them pretty good. You sure did. And the last one? Justin. Yeah, Justin's 41. Gotcha. He's going to have a birthday this month. All right. He's going to be 41 this year. And you got some grands? I have 13 grandchildren. 13. And I believe it's 15 great-grand. Fantastic. So I'm truly blessed. Yes, you are. That's wonderful. I'm truly blessed. Wow. Yes. And of course, my husband, he is a minister. Mm-hmm. And we work over in Hardy, Polk County at Fort Meade AME Church, St. Paul AME over there. Yeah. So, yeah, we're here. That's fantastic. Keep up the good work. Well, I'm trying. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Well, thank you for asking me. Yeah, and I definitely want to do part 2. Okay. Well, just let me know. I have to gather up my database people.
That'd be great. Wow, we'll have to really go all in on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
We're out.
God.
Just like that.
Oh, wow.
You did great. The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.